All right, so back in the camper this evening. I'm going to try to get the rest of this slide out taken apart, get it ready to come out of the camper tomorrow and onto the rack. So these seat backs need to come off. So these little padded pieces need to come off. They're just put on with little angle brackets underneath. And then the seat backs can come off. They are screwed on underneath. There's some screws along here that go in at an angle that go into this seat back. So once I get all those out on both sides, it's going to be a little bit difficult on that side. Be able to pull these seat backs off and then get this extra piece here that is carpeted, that goes just up against the that oak piece right there, the slide out surround trim. Take that off. I can get this front piece off and then unbolt the slide out mechanism, the rack and pinion. You know, just unbolt the rack from the bottom of the slide. And then outside, of course, I'll have to run the slide out again, run it out, and there's some bolts on the outside lower edge as well. Take those out, and then this, what's left of the slide room, should just pop right out. I'll place it on the rack and get it out of the way. All right, so that side seat back came up. There's just one other screw here on the top. So once you take these little padded backrests off, you have access to the screw that goes in from the top, which is this guy right here. Goes in from the top, and then there's all the screws along the bottom from underneath. On this side, it's just the padded piece across the top. So it's just those screws. And then that one screw right there, I'll pull that out and this piece should just come up. Okay, so there's a screw that comes in from the back side. Comes in from back behind there. I guess the probably easiest way is to get that from the outside. But that's what holds this little piece in, and then there's one screw right here as well. And I just cut that screw because I couldn't get to it with my... I have a 90-degree bit, but I'll use that when I go to put it back in. But to take it out, I just cut it. And surprising, there is a little bit of aluminum in here. So it's aluminum framed, at least on the floor. I don't know about the walls. All right, so just so I can explain why I have to take all this off. This piece and all this trim all the way around back to that side makes this slide out too wide to fit back out. All this is put on once the slide out's already inside the camper. These carpet pieces and trim, and the carpet went on after the slide out was in, obviously, but they mount this fascia piece to the slide out floor under the carpet with screws. So the carpet has to come out before you can remove this fascia piece. All this basically this U-shaped piece that goes around has to come off. And in order to do that, if you've got carpet, the carpet's got to come off so you can access the screws that run into the main part of the floor of the slide out. It's really not that big of a deal. It's just a lot of staples. So use gloves. Use if you've got some staple puller tools, you can get them out pretty quick. And a good pair of pliers to grab the carpet. You don't want to be grabbing it with your hands. Just take your time, get all the staples out, and that front piece. If you have a raised slide out, not a flush mount slide out, that has to come off before the slide out can be removed from the RV. All right, so I've got most of the carpet peeled back, and you can see screw there, screw there. About every 18 inches or so, there's a screw all the way down. So once those are out, this piece should come out fairly easily. What are you doing? You smelling stuff out there, buddy? All right, so on this Happy Jack slide out mechanism, there's I think 8 or 9 7/16 inch screws, kind of lag screws that go into the aluminum frame. They all need to be taken out. And then on the inside, it's dark already, so but on the inside up under there, fastening to the bottom of the slide out floor, are 5 more of the lag screws, and again 7/16 inch heads. Once those lag screws are out, I can kind of bump this slide out over a little bit so I can access in here. I can get the screws off of the T-molding, which prevents this whole thing from coming out. It's what those oak pieces, that's what goes up against the wall with the rubber seal. So that's how you get to those screws, but you have to be able to move the slide out over to get this side, and then pull it this way to get the other side. See over here, there's a little bit more of a gap, and that's just because it's sagging from the welds being broken. It's just a little bit of a gap on this side. All right, we started pulling up the linoleum, vinyl flooring, and finally got that carpeted piece around the flooring off. It's just a couple of stubborn screws over in that corner, and I couldn't really figure out a way to get to them. Even going through this from the outside, since the slide out shifted so far over with the frame being cracked or broken, I couldn't get to that screw, so I had to break the wood off at the corner and then go from underneath and just unscrew it with a pair of pliers from underneath here, from the inside. So that wasn't fun, but got it all apart, and I'm just cleaning up the floor a little bit. It's not fun out here. You got one of these staple pullers. It makes pretty quick work out of getting these staples up. These go into the aluminum, so they're a little bit harder. The ones that are just in the Luan are real easy to pull up. But that's a great tool to have if you're pulling up linoleum and it's stapled down. None of this linoleum is glued, just stapled. Now, there's the Luan base, aluminum framed with stuffed with wood. You can see at least they stuff this thin aluminum with wood. Just thought I'd show the steel piece that's back behind this is the front driver's side corner. So that right there is the electrical going to the jack, the electric jack. And that's the corner bracing that the jack bolts go through, the mounting bolts. So those are grade 8 bolts going through that steel plate bracing piece. It's 2 pieces of aluminum welded together. You can see that they do okay with the welds, but it has given way, or it's let loose from the main part of the frame, and it's allowed the whole thing to kind of sag down, and that's what is causing my alignment issues on the slide out. And the sag was caused by this piece of 1/2 inch wood rotting out and the bolts pulling up through. I actually think that this is just Luan with 1/2 inch foam and more Luan on the other side. That's all that is. And maybe some 1x2s. We'll see once we tear into it, because that whole floor actually on both sides that those shoulder pieces are coming out. Just because there's some rot there. The slide out has leaked over the years and rotted that piece of wood out, or that's two separate pieces of wood. And they're probably not, matter of fact, I know they're not pieces of plywood. They are Luan. It's 1/16 of an inch Luan, foam, and 1x2s, and then more Luan on the outside. And it's just stapled and glued. That's it. And there could be aluminum going through there as well. So we'll find out if it goes all the way through or if it's just on the inside of the shoulder. But I can see some 1x2 aluminum in the corner there. I'll show you. If you can see the aluminum right there, I'm sure that's 1x2 aluminum. So we'll figure out, but you can see this, chintzy little thin Luan plywood. So I'm pretty sure that's how that's mounted. The Happy Jack slider mechanism, this guy here, is mounted to that doubled up piece of aluminum that's welded together. That's where it gets its strength. A little bit of progress today. Got the top frame trim off. There's this is the piece that I removed. This is the top piece. There's that angle aluminum which fastens to, this is the piece that fastens this whole, that secures this whole thing to the top of the slide out room, and helps make the seal when it's closed, or sorry, when it's open. So it fastens to the top and then to the inside of the wood there. You can see it's still on this little phony piece of oak, but it was secured to the top of the slide out with about 10 or 12 screws all the way down. And then of course the caulking, the sealant had to be cut, and once that was cut, it was just a matter of pulling it apart from the other piece. They run 150,000 staples on the ends, on both ends, to quote unquote secure it to the other side. Now there you can see all those staples, and right there. So anyway, once those pieces are off, the slide room can come out and sit on the little bracket that I made. So that's enough for today. 103, and it's I don't know, getting to be about 7 o'clock. It's still hot in here. So anyway, I'm gonna quit for the day. Didn't get the slide out removed completely, but I made some good progress just figuring out how this thing gets taken apart and how to get it back in there once I've done all the repairs. So stay tuned for the next one, the removal of the slide out, and then I'll remove the slide out mechanism, the Happy Jack mechanism, and that way I can get to the subfloor that is rotted out, and then get to that frame where it's broken and make the repairs. Now here's the crude rack for the slide out. Got everything unbuttoned from the outside. Just need to get a 4x8 sheet of plywood to put on the top, and screw it down, and then get the slide out mounted onto it. It's just simple 2x4s and some cross bracing, and just some scrap that I had for lateral bracing on the sides there. Once I get the plywood on there, it'll be real sturdy. So it's 8 feet long by 4 feet wide. Should be plenty to put the slide out on. Slide out only weighs about, it's less than 200 pounds, I think. Shouldn't be a problem. It's looking like tomorrow. Not going to run into town tonight. It's already almost 8 o'clock, so wait till tomorrow morning. Go get a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood and get this thing secured down. Get the slide out removed. Start work on the broken frame. So until then, see you next time. Later.